Have you ever felt like your to-do list only gets longer, no matter how hard you work? Like you're constantly putting out fires, yet never making real progress? Many managers face this dilemma, juggling tasks, managing interruptions, and taking on more responsibility than they can handle. But what if the problem isn't the amount of work, but how responsibility is distributed? You see, every task comes with a monkey on its back, and mastering delegation is the key to keeping those monkeys where they belong, with their rightful owners. Too much responsibility causes stress and inefficiency. This is the story of a newly appointed manager. Let's call him Sam. Sam was ambitious, energetic, and determined to make a difference, much like many leaders stepping into a new role. When things started out, he brought enthusiasm and energy to the department. His positive attitude spread, and soon productivity and morale improved. After a period of low performance under his team's previous leadership, things finally seemed to be turning around. But the success didn't last. Over time, the team's performance began to slip. At first, it was a gradual decline, but before long, it became a significant drop. Despite putting in extra hours, including weekends, results kept getting worse. No matter how hard he worked, things didn't improve. The pressure was relentless, and the long hours took a toll on his well-being. Stress started to affect him physically, and he began to fear developing health problems like an ulcer. The impact wasn't limited to work. At home, his wife noticed how often he was either absent or too tired to contribute. Their children were disappointed by his lack of time and attention. Yet despite seeing the damage being done to both his personal and professional life, he didn't know how to stop the cycle. He felt stuck, believing that if he didn't keep pushing harder, things would only get worse. Meanwhile, Sam's boss, Alice, had started paying closer attention to the department's performance. She wasn't initially critical, but as the situation deteriorated, her concern grew. She began asking for more reports and monitoring results more closely. Recognizing that something had to change, he scheduled a meeting with her to discuss the problem. During the meeting, Sam admitted that he felt like he was doing the work of two people and didn't know how to turn things around. Her sharp response, asking who the second person was so she could fire them, made a clear point: he wasn't delegating enough. When he protested that his staff wasn't ready for more responsibility, she clarified that it was his job to get them ready. Her parting words drove the message home. It's tough to work for a nervous boss, especially if you're the one making them nervous. Leaving the meeting, he knew he needed help. Alice's words stayed with him, and he realized that if something didn't change soon, things could get worse. Unsure of what to do next, he turned to someone he trusted, the one-minute manager. Poor delegation creates bottlenecks and puts managers at risk. The one-minute manager was a family friend, known for his impressive ability to lead teams effortlessly while achieving outstanding results. He had a reputation for getting things done without overworking himself, a stark contrast to the stressed-out manager seeking his advice. Feeling overwhelmed and unsure how to proceed after his meeting with Alice, Sam turned to the one-minute manager for guidance. When they met for lunch, it didn't take long for his stress to show. The one-minute manager's first comment, "So, being a manager is not as easy as you thought, eh?" was met with a frustrated agreement. Before becoming a manager, success had been straightforward. The more effort Sam put in, the better his results were. But now, no matter how hard he worked, things only seemed to get worse. As Sam explained the situation, the one-minute manager listened carefully, asking a few pointed questions. When asked which part of his job took up the most time, the answer was immediate: paperwork, meetings, and constant interruptions. Despite all the time spent on these tasks, they didn't seem to contribute to meaningful progress. He described it as the triumph of technique over purpose. Lots of activity, little accomplishment. Even attending a time management seminar hadn't helped. While it made him slightly more efficient, it only created space for more tasks to pile up. The real problem, he admitted, was the dependency of his staff. Whether in hallways or in formal settings, his team constantly approached him for direction before moving forward. To minimize interruptions, he often kept his office door closed, but this only delayed their work and hurt morale. Hearing this, the one-minute manager pointed out a fundamental issue. Managers who don't delegate properly become bottlenecks. Worse, those who see themselves as indispensable are rarely promoted because they haven't trained anyone to take their place. Being indispensable, he warned, is not job security, it's a liability. This conversation made it clear that the lack of delegation wasn't just making life harder, it was putting Sam's job in jeopardy. But the one-minute manager wasn't finished. What came next was an unexpected lesson involving something far more troublesome than paperwork and meetings. Keep monkeys with their owners to avoid overload. As Sam explained his struggles as a manager, detailing long hours, constant interruptions, and mounting pressure, he expected the one-minute manager to offer tips on how to work more efficiently. Instead, he received a surprising diagnosis. His hard work was treating the symptoms, not the real issue. It was like taking aspirin for a fever while ignoring the illness causing it. The real problem wasn't the volume of tasks, it was how responsibility was being handled. Then came the key revelation: monkeys. The one-minute manager explained that a monkey is the next move in a task. Whenever an employee presents a problem without a proposed solution, the monkey, the responsibility for determining what happens next, shifts to the manager. This leaves employees supervising their own managers, waiting for updates on tasks that should have been theirs to complete. To illustrate, the one-minute manager shared a familiar scenario. An employee stops the manager in the hallway to explain a problem. The manager, pressed for time, promises to think about it and get back to them later. With that, the monkey leaps from the employees back to the managers. From then on, the employee becomes the supervisor, following up regularly with, "How's it coming?" Hearing this, Sam immediately recognized the pattern. He recalled numerous tasks he had taken over from his staff, speaking to other departments, resolving internal issues, even writing job descriptions. Each of these tasks represented a monkey he had needlessly picked up. Over time, this led to a vicious cycle. His staff learned that he would take on their tasks, so they kept handing him more. The more monkeys he picked up, the more overwhelmed he became, ultimately sacrificing personal time to keep up. The lesson was clear. Managers must stop picking up tasks that belong to their employees. Instead, they should ensure that monkeys stay with their rightful owners while offering support as needed. This prevents role reversal, reduces dependency, and allows managers to focus on their own priorities. But understanding the problem wasn't enough. What followed was a practical, systematic approach to fix it. A structured approach to handling monkeys. Once Sam understood that he'd been picking up tasks that didn't belong to him, he knew he had to change his approach. He'd spent too much time bottlenecking tasks and holding up his team's progress. That Monday morning, he approached his office with renewed purpose, ready to hand back the monkeys. Tasks his staff should have been handling all along. This marked the beginning of a significant shift in how his team operated. The one-minute manager's approach to delegation was built around Oncken's 4 rules of monkey management, a structured system designed to ensure tasks remain with the right people while managers provide appropriate oversight. The first rule is, describe the monkey. Before parting ways, the manager and employee must clearly define the next move. This prevents confusion and procrastination. When tasks are broken down into actionable steps, employees are more motivated and confident. They know what to do next, and progress becomes easier. The second rule, assign the monkey, ensures that every task has a clearly defined owner. The responsibility for completing tasks should rest at the lowest possible organizational level, which often means assigning them to the employees closest to the problem. This keeps managers from taking on unnecessary tasks and gives staff the opportunity to grow by handling their responsibilities independently. While employees may initially resist additional responsibility, giving them ownership leads to higher engagement and competence over time. Rule 3 is ensure the monkey, meaning each task must carry the right level of oversight. For high-risk tasks, managers might require employees to recommend, then act, seeking approval before taking action. For lower-risk tasks, employees can act, then advise, informing the manager afterward. Balancing oversight with employee freedom helps managers stay informed without micromanaging. Finally, check on the monkey involves scheduling follow-up appointments to monitor progress. These checkups ensure tasks stay on track and create opportunities for feedback. Together, these 4 rules provide a reliable framework for managing tasks effectively and maintaining a productive, low-stress work environment. With Oncken's rules in place, Sam had created a foundation for effective task management, but he soon realized that true leadership required more than simply assigning tasks. To fully unlock his team's potential, he needed to go further. It was time to shift from managing tasks to developing people through delegation and coaching. Building trust and competence through delegation and coaching. Once Sam had returned his team's monkeys and applied Oncken's 4 rules, delegation was the next step. Simply assigning tasks wasn't enough. While assigning meant tasks were kept with their rightful owners, Sam still had to invest considerable time in specifying next moves, providing oversight, and scheduling follow-ups. Delegation offered a way to further reduce his workload and increase his team's output. But true delegation couldn't happen without preparation. His staff needed to be coached until they could manage projects on their own with minimal supervision. Delegation differs from assigning in a key way. Assigning involves managing individual tasks, while delegation involves handing over responsibility for entire projects. This requires trust, which is built through consistent coaching. Sam discovered that as his team gained competence, he could gradually delegate more. Initially, he needed to control specific steps of the project. But as his team demonstrated their ability to manage tasks independently, his role shifted to checking in periodically rather than overseeing every detail. The process of coaching was best illustrated by his experience with Gordon, a team member who had once been notorious for frequently passing off his tasks. When a potential issue arose with one of their products, Gordon took the initiative to assess the situation and prepare a detailed solution. He presented multiple options, weighed the pros and cons, and identified the necessary resources. However, Gordon hadn't considered how senior management might react to the proposed solution. Instead of taking over, the manager guided Gordon through handling the issue, helping him secure stakeholder buy-in. Once this was achieved, the manager delegated full responsibility for the project to Gordon, who successfully managed it with minimal oversight. This experience reinforced an essential principle: effective delegation requires trust and preparation. Through coaching, managers can help their teams develop the skills and confidence needed to take ownership of their work. The result? Higher productivity, improved morale, and more time for managers to focus on strategic tasks. Delegation isn't about stepping back entirely, it's about stepping back responsibly. With his team becoming more self-reliant, Sam's next focus was on balancing his time across essential priorities to ensure long-term success. Balancing time to focus on what truly matters. Having coached his team to self-reliance and achieved greater delegation, Sam faced a new challenge: balancing his time across competing priorities. With fewer tasks demanding his immediate attention, he now had the opportunity to focus on strategic areas that could drive long-term success. He realized that effective time management required balancing three categories of time: boss-imposed, system-imposed, and self-imposed. Boss-imposed time consisted of tasks assigned by his superior. Sam knew from experience that neglecting these responsibilities created additional work in the form of extra reports and closer scrutiny. He adopted a strategy of keeping his boss well informed to avoid surprises, ensuring expectations were always met. When disagreements arose, he applied the principle of loyal opposition, respectfully presenting alternatives but committing fully to decisions once they were made. System-imposed time included organizational processes such as meetings and administrative tasks. Initially, these obligations felt like bureaucratic obstacles. However, he discovered that building rapport with peers and administrative staff made these processes far more efficient. Instead of resisting the system, he worked with it, saving time and reducing friction. Finally, there was self-imposed time, the most important category. This included both subordinate-imposed time, tasks picked up unnecessarily from staff, and discretionary time, where he had full control over what to work on. Sam recognized that discretionary time was essential for strategic planning and innovation, but was often sacrificed under pressure. To protect it, he continued returning ownership of tasks to his team while fostering their independence through coaching. The result was more discretionary time, which he could now invest in leadership, planning, and relationship building. By balancing his time effectively across these three areas, Sam not only improved his personal productivity, but also created a more autonomous and motivated team. This shift allowed him to focus on strategic priorities rather than firefighting daily issues. Ultimately, he transitioned from being a reactive manager to a proactive leader, setting the foundation for long-term success.